Welcome back to our fourth episode of The Truth About You That No One Talks About. In the previous episodes, we explored how your shared awareness of the fifth dimension of your Christ nature and the third dimension of your human nature created a heaven on earth, the paradise of the Garden of Eden, for your human self, called Adam. At the center of this shared awareness, you planted two seeds, one of Christ consciousness and the other of human consciousness. The seed of Christ consciousness grew into a tree in this shared awareness, often referred to as the tree of life. Meanwhile, the seed of duality, human consciousness, grew into a tree that is often referred to as the tree of the knowledge of good and evil, Genesis 2 verse 9. You, as Christ consciousness within your shared awareness, needed to experience humanness in its fullest depth firsthand, from the first-person point of view. On your own, you chose to partake of the forbidden fruit of the knowledge of good and evil that had grown at the middle of the garden, Genesis 3 verse 6. This led to the ultimate forgetfulness of your true nature as the creator of all the illusions you were seeing. You were exposed to the duality of all forms, the serpents of all forms. You had to remember that there was another tree of life at the center of the same garden from which its fruit could save you, Genesis 3 verse 22. But you could no longer see your way back into the clear awareness where that tree could even be perceived. You were no longer in the domain of that shared awareness. You were now in the domain of human consciousness, bound by the fruit of good and evil. That was your first dark night of the soul. 1. The descent and the need for redemption. Let us continue today by understanding that you needed yourself, the higher self of you that exists in the fifth dimension, to descend in order to save the Christ awareness within you, which was lost in the illusion of the material world, the illusion of its own creation. The books and chapters written after the fall of man in the Bible are essentially about your experiences in the world of forgetfulness, your journey through the third dimension, and the promise you gave yourself from your higher self to come down and save yourself from this fallen state. The New Testament is about your coming to save yourself from this fallen state, your return to Christ consciousness. In your fallen state, your dark night of the soul, the only thing you can seek is grace, the bridge to your higher self in the fifth dimension. That grace comes in the form of the dove, and with it, Christ consciousness is imparted at the peak of your risen forgetfulness, the risen serpent, Luke 3 verse 22. The verses Luke 3 verse 22 works hand in hand with John 3 verse 14 to show the needed bond between the serpent and the dove, wherein John the Son of Man must be lifted up like a serpent, and in Luke that risen serpent, the Son of Man must receive the Christ consciousness in the form of the dove from his higher self. The combination of these two, the Christ consciousness as the dove and the risen serpent, which represents the highest level of the fall into the knowledge of good and evil, brings forth the new earth, the heaven on earth, Revelation 21 verse 1. 2. The serpent and the dove, the path to transcendence. Now, let's delve deeper into this point as it relates to the Bible. The lowest one can descend into forgetfulness, into the knowledge of good and evil, is found at the very center of the garden, paralleling the very center of man's body, the base of the spine. This is where the coiled serpent resides, the mother of all dualities. If you awaken this sleeping mother serpent, Kundalini, it means you are eating the very fruit together with the seed of the knowledge of good and evil. Activating this energy will give you life in the knowledge of dualities, the power of the world of creation, the power of gods and devils, and all the knowledge therein. Yet, such an expansion of human awareness in a short span of time can be overwhelming. Dualities play out at an unprecedented rate, making it difficult to navigate. This serpent Kundalini must rise from the base of the spine through all 33 vertebrae up to the top. This is why Jesus said, "Just as Moses lifted up the serpent in the wilderness, so the Son of Man must be lifted up," John 3 verse 14. These words directly refer to the process of Kundalini rising. Jesus was foreshadowing his own death into the knowledge of good and evil, his descent into the highest knowledge of the world of duality, followed by the necessary death that would lead to his resurrection in majesty. This is why Jesus is said to have died at age 33, symbolizing the deepest descent into the fall and the highest knowledge of all dualities, the Kundalini rising through the 33 vertebrae of the spine. Notice that Jesus said the Son of Man must be lifted up. This signifies that the product of duality, the knowledge of good and evil, must rise to its highest level, to the point of death, so that, at that elevated level of the material, the Christ consciousness, which is a high vibrational frequency, can meet it. While Christ consciousness can lower its frequency, it still requires third-dimensional consciousness to vibrate at its highest in order to unite. Jesus further instructed, "Be as wise as serpents and as harmless as doves," Matthew 10 verse 16. This illustrates the necessity of balance. The risen Kundalini serpent, knowledge of duality, and the descent of Christ consciousness, divine grace, must work together. A serpent and a dove are two essential aspects of transcendence and experience. It is necessary for man to fall so that Christ can come. It is necessary for the material to vibrate at its highest frequency so that it can reconnect with the Spirit. It is necessary for knowledge to be attained for salvation to be realized. In other words, the rising of Kundalini, the descent into deep fall and absolute knowledge of creation, is necessary for Christ consciousness to descend. Together, they form a transcendent being with complete knowledge of creation and the fifth dimension beyond. Reflection and closing thoughts. As we conclude today's discussion, take a moment to reflect. Have you experienced moments of deep forgetfulness of your divine nature? How did they shape your perception of reality? How do you balance knowledge, serpent, and divine grace, dove, in your life? In what ways can you elevate your consciousness to meet Christ within you? How does the idea of the dark night of the soul resonate with your spiritual journey? What practical steps can you take to raise your awareness beyond the illusions of material existence? Thank you for joining me on this journey of self-discovery. If this resonates with you, share your thoughts in the comments, and don't forget to like and subscribe for more explorations into the profound mysteries of your being. Let's meet again in the next episode as we dive deeper into the mysteries of yourself that were even wrapped up and sealed in the Holy Scriptures waiting for this tome. Until then, keep seeking, keep questioning, and remember, you are the divine grace.